Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, the trade deadline is come and gone. I spent a lot of time this weekend I would say fully relaxing, but recovering from the trade deadline. I finally feel like back to 100%, but what a trade deadline that was that we got, and it was a lot of fun covering it with you.
Yeah, it really was. It feels a little weird to be doing a recorded show and not live.
Yeah. Yep.
Because we had done so many live shows over the course of the week, but that just tells everybody how crazy this trade deadline was. It was absolutely bonkers. And I think when we finally thought, all right, we're clear of it, it's all done, we get news Saturday night that we're not quite done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably where we're going to start.
Yeah, let's go there. The Mark Williams trade. The Lakers would have sent Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 unprotected pick, and a 2030 pick swap to the Charlotte Hornets for Mark Williams. Then we got word, the Lakers actually broke the news, sent out a press release saying that the trade was being rescinded, that a part of the deal had been failed to be completed. And so now the trade is off. We later found out that essentially Mark Williams failed his physical. There was something in there. Multiple things is what Shams Charania reported, that the Lakers said, no, this doesn't work. He's not healthy enough, or at least they're concerned about his future. And so now the deal is off and all the players go back to their original teams. Keith, the Hornets also issued a statement, a little bit of a passive aggressive statement there by the Hornets, talking about how aggressively, they didn't want to say the Lakers, how aggressively the other team pursued Mark Williams. I was like, oh my gosh, can we get any more drama in the NBA? But I think one thing to note for fans and everything, this does happen. It's rare, but this can happen. And there's a reason why these protections are in place. So once a player takes a physical, a team can say, actually, there's stuff on here that we weren't expecting to see, and so we don't want to go ahead with this.
Yeah, so I mean, mostly the big takeaway here is you now work for other Team Nation for your other channels. So it's crazy, right? But the Hornets guy, somebody had to be like, hey, this is the first time we can ever call the Lakers the other team when it comes to us as the Charlotte Hornets. So yeah, that's a little bit of, hey, we didn't like the story that was out there that we called the Lakers, since we got to bring this guy back. Let's try to save face a little bit with the players. There's a couple reports out there that like Dalton Knecht doesn't seem too happy, which you're a rookie, dude. No one cares.
Yeah.
Like, it's everybody will be fine. Everyone's going to go back to where they were. But to your point, this does happen. The probably most famous example of this was Tyson Chandler when he was set to go to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2009. The Thunder failed him with the toe issue. Tyson Chandler went on to have a very long career after that, won a title with the Mavericks. So clearly he ended up being okay, but the Thunder saw something they didn't like. The Donatas Motiejunas one was a huge mess because that caused other stuff to be like undone. The one people kept throwing at me over the weekend was the Gary Payton II trade from maybe last year, 2 years ago, whenever that was.
2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago.
But they had time to amend that.
And the difference there was the NBA in their investigation found that the Trailblazers did withhold information that was found. In this Mark Williams one, and I get it, there are Lakers fans who are livid about this and think it's left them in an extremely unfair position. The Lakers could have chosen to say, you know what, we'll move forward with this. But when they did their physical, they found something they didn't like, or to your point, Shams reporting multiple somethings they didn't like.
Yeah.
It could be, and we don't know what that is. It could be, I don't know, he has weird, ears. And they were like, we don't like it, right? Something seems wrong. And we're going to fail it because of that. And that means that there's only one option when we're past the trade, or two options. Either you go through as it is and you deal with it, or you rescind the trade and reset and everybody goes back to where they were. Now, what becomes interesting here is the people who jump to, well, the Hornets have to pay the Lakers a penalty because they, tried to send them a lemon or send them damaged goods. One, the Lakers may have found something the Hornets are like, we're not concerned with it. Like, it's not a thing for us. We don't care that he has weird ears. And the Lakers are like, we do. We don't want
we
it,
love Mr.
right?
Spock.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're happy with that. We don't care. And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't want anybody to think we have any idea what these injuries are, because
No, we don't
nobody
know.
said anything
Yeah.
about what they were. So the other thing is, you traded for a player who's missed like 60 or 70% of the games he could have played in the entire time. So there was always a chance something would come up. So I don't think Charlotte tried to pull one over on the Lakers. The Hornets, if you're on their side, you're like, man, we lost out on 2 first-round picks and another first-round pick, like of a guy who was already drafted. Like, so it's rough on their end too. And then they had made a follow-up trade to get Yusuf Nurkic. I think the single biggest takeaway here is, this is probably a lesson now for Jeff Peterson running the Hornets, a lesson for Rob Pelinka. There are teams that will not do a trade after the day before the trade deadline, because they're like, if we do not have time to get guys where they need to be, get everything checked, we're just not going to do it. Like, there are teams that are, if it's too late, we don't not want to run the risk of having things undone on us. And that, yeah, if it's a minor salary dump, whatever, you figure that out. But yeah, I don't think anything was done deviously here by anybody involved. It's just, we'll keep it clean, but things happen, right? Like, it stinks for all parties involved. Stinks for Mark Williams and Dalton Connect too. Cam Reddish, I guess, but that one's a little less so because he probably knew what his ultimate fate was going to be anyway. But yeah, I mean, those 2 guys, like Mark Williams was going to a title contender and going to play a huge role with Luka for years to come. Dalton Connect was going to go to a team where it's going to be, hey, you want to play 30 minutes a night? They're here for you. Let's go. As a young player. So just, stinks all around for everybody.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. I brought up the point on Lakers Nation that whatever the Lakers found, it must have been something significant because they know the situation. This puts the man at the center position for the remainder of the season. They know what the alternative is, but it must have been something that scared them enough to say, you know what, we gave up a lot. I said they gave up too much to begin with, but they gave up a lot in the trade. And there had to be significant concern that he's not going to be able to stay healthy for the future, for them to decide that the best path is, rather than do the trade, to move forward with Jackson Hayes as your only center on the roster currently. So we'll see. Ultimately, of course, wish Mark Williams the best and don't want to see anybody get injured or anything like that. But clearly they had to be something that they weren't anticipating finding on his physical. And this can happen sometimes. And it's unfortunate. Yes, it can be awkward, but ultimately everybody's just going to have to be professional and understand what happened and move on and move forward.
I was reminded as I was doing research from this. Do you know what the most recent rescinded trade was? Do you remember it?
The most recent rescinded trade.
I think it was
I don't know.
before, but it might have been out. The Peyton one never got rescinded. That one got amended, but it was Bol for Rodney Magruder.
Oh, was it the Bol
Nuggets
thing?
were moving off him, and then the Pistons were like, nope, wait. I think that was with his knee or his foot. And they're like, no, we're not doing it. Like, and they sent him back. So, but that was, again, that one happened. I think that was a late December or early January trade. So, it's tough. I mean, that's the tough thing about the deadline. This one came, and I know people are like, but this trade was done. What was it? The days all running Wednesday night.
But it takes time to get the players into the city.
It. Yeah. The trade wasn't actually done till Thursday with the trade call. Then you got to get the guys, to their new cities. And this is why, they say, until you get hands on somebody, you don't know. And to your point, it's not just the trade in this season. The Lakers are trading for Mark Williams with the idea of we're then going to hand him a pretty big contract this summer in an extension to keep him in Los Angeles to be the running mate with Luka for years to come. And that was, to your point, whatever they found was, we can't. We beyond this year, we can't pay him long term. We can't do this. And for them, that becomes this. I don't buy either the people who are like, the Lakers, saw they were getting killed and feel like it was too much to give up. So they made something up. It's not how this works. Like, if that's, how it would go down, the Hornets would file a grievance. The league would look into it. Then you'd get independent doctors involved. This is just a matter of he's got something going on or multiple somethings going on that the Hornets weren't concerned with. The Lakers were. done. We all move on.
Yeah.
Lakers now, yeah, they'll do something, I imagine, up front. They'll figure it out one way or another. The market is not exactly flushed with great
No.
options, but they'll figure something out here over the next month or so.
I joked on Lakers Nation on a skit I posted just a bit ago that Dwight Howard has called Rob Pelinka 137 times in the last 24 hours.
That might be low.
They do need to find a center. That's for sure. But unfortunate the way this is all played out. Just kind of sticking on Lakers related here. Obviously, we saw Anthony Davis, but he was phenomenal. I mean, that was about as fired up as I've ever seen Anthony Davis for the Mavs. And then
that first quarter was all-time stuff. I mean,
unreal.
He was dominant.
He was awesome. And then to get hurt in the third quarter the way that he did, non-contact, wasn't even a particularly dramatic movement or anything, just took a step and crumpled to the floor. I think, Keith, we're supposed to get word today on whether or not he needs surgery, which would end his season. Otherwise, we're looking at maybe a month, something like that, before they get a better idea what his timeline is. And as far as him returning, absolutely brutal especially for Mavs fans who were already upset about the trade, already upset about everything that's gone on. Now Anthony Davis's first game as a Mav to look that great and then get hurt. Oh, I mean, absolutely crushing. My stomach dropped when I saw that.
Yeah, and you saw all the posts of people were making them in jest, but like the Mavericks get the full AD experience in the span of one game.
Yeah.
Where it's like this guy is game changing and could lead us to a title, to now he's out for who knows how long. And Jeff Stotts, who runs the Twitter account In Street Clothes, invaluable follow. Everybody should be following him if you're an NBA fan. He put out there some stuff, and he basically said, yeah, an adductor injury, if you have surgery, it has a great success rate. Like it almost, never fails, but it would probably put him down for the rest of the season. And that's tough for the Mavericks, who are battling. I mean, I put it out on Twitter. They've got a tough next month worth of games. So even if that's all the time he misses, they have 2 games against under 500 teams and a whole slew of games against teams they're battling for position in the West play-in tournament. They're going to be working against the Warriors and the Kings in a couple of those games. They've got the game against the Lakers coming up. So yeah, just brutal for them that they're going to be without him, I would say, for probably at least a month. There's any silver lining, a week of that is the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So that's the only silver lining. I am sure this is related to the injury he had with the Lakers. It just seems like that's all interconnected somehow, but there was no indication that the Mavericks were like, we need you to play because people are mad about the trade or anything like that. This was on the timeline when he would have been back for the Lakers. So, it's just unfortunate, and just kind of the way it goes with that, and we'll see what they do now. I mean, there's again, limited room, and they are even rougher shape than a lot of other teams. They're like less than 150K away from their first apron hard cap. So they don't even have room to go sign anybody underneath the hard cap either, which is really tough. They can't fit a veteran minimum signing in until we're like at the very end of March. So they're just going to have to, soldier on with what they've got. Maybe, Kyler Kelly's there on a 2-way. I presume he'll, play more behind Daniel Gafford, and they'll figure it out. The good news, PJ Washington, who left that AD game with a sprained ankle, he's questionable, so not as bad as it looked like it could have been. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be rough for the Mavs for a little bit.
All right, we did have some new contracts that were awarded around the NBA. The one that I really took notice of was Quentin Post getting a deal with the Warriors. He doesn't do a ton of big man things on the offensive end near the basket, but boy, he sure can shoot that 3 ball though.
You know why he's good? It's a BC guy.
I had a feeling you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, of course. He was one of my guys. Another guy who gets signed, AJ Mitchell with the Thunder. Those were 2 of my guys when I wrote my guys column before the draft last year. 2 players I really liked in this draft. So Post signed, because it's all the Warriors could sign him for, a 2-year prorated minimum contract. So that's how they're got him to the roster. The Thunder, what they did, a little bit more interesting with AJ Mitchell, they used some of their remaining room exception and gave him $3 million for this year. Here's the crucial thing with both players. They both got team options for next season. So what's very, very likely, and I'm like 100% that this is how this is going to go down, barring an injury or something. Both of those players will have those options declined this offseason. And then what the teams will do is sign them to new long-term contracts this summer when they're free of restrictions. So the Warriors, all they could offer was a prorated minimum that can only be for 2 years. So they're going to want to have Post around longer than that. Crucially for them, Quentin Post is their starting five right now, meaning starting center, not just in their starting five, but their starting center. And Quentin Post is going to be in a position where now there's no more game limits for him as a two-way player. They can use him all the way through and into the postseason and everything. With AJ Mitchell, he's out with an injury, but he had played so well, was a regular rotation guy. The Thunder had made it very clear, when we open up a roster spot, which they knew they were going to do around the trade deadline or just let a 10-day contract go, we're going to convert him. They stayed true to that. Gets a little bump in pay this year, and that's how you get him to do the whole, mechanics of we're going to give you a team option, decline, and then they'll get him on a team-friendly deal moving forward. So good work by both front offices, good work by the coaching staff to develop both players into guys who earned standard NBA deals.
Yeah, and great to see. Wouldn't shock me if the Lakers wind up doing something similar with Christian Coloco or Trey Jemison or something like that. But yeah, this is great to see for a guy like Quentin Post and AJ Mitchell, of course, to get these kind of.
Want to do one other guy too?
Yeah,
sorry, because I didn't mean to leave him out. Justin Edwards from Philadelphia 76ers. Same thing, has earned a starting role. He also is going. I don't know if he's actually signed it yet. Actually, I think he did yesterday. So he has signed a deal. It will probably look very similar to this, where there will be a 2-year deal with a team option. Then Philly can decline, and they can work through that to get him on a long-term deal after. This is a pretty common thing. I know it seems like it sounds harsh, and why the teams do it this way is they get their restricted rights, and no one's going to mess around with those guys in restricted free agency unless the Nets really want to get frisky and cause a problem, but I don't think they're going to do that for guys who are going to have like a half a season of production. But Justin Edwards as well. Jamison Battle got converted with the Raptors to a standard deal, but that's much more of that's a 3-year deal. So that tells me that the idea there was we're bringing him on something that'll be like akin to the second round exception contract. And that's what they did with him. So two-way guys making good and moving up in the world.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's go here. Trae Young going to replace Giannis Antetokounmpo in the All-Star game. Giannis is going to be out, and I guess somebody's going to have to replace Anthony Davis now as well. Adam Silver already made the decision, though. Trae Young will replace Giannis, and we'll see what happens with AD. Young was certainly one of the more eyebrow-raising snubs, although no matter what, there's going to be deserving players who don't wind up being selected. But we've already had one replacement, and now we're going to have another one, I believe, in short order here with the Anthony Davis injury. Yeah,
and my guess is they're just waiting for it to be official today. Whenever the Mavericks say, he's out for however long a period of time, as long as it's more than 2 weeks, they're going to say, all right, then we'll replace him. And Adam Silver picks, but how Adam Silver does it is he picks like basically the next person up in the voting. Yeah. That's pretty much the
keep it
thing
fair
he's
that
done
way.
Consistently. David Stern did it very similarly to that, because that way, nobody gets their feelings hurt or anything like that. It's just that guy would have been next up anyway. And we go. I did see a little like, does it have to be an East guy for Giannis and a West guy for Davis? It is, even though we're in this new mini tournament version and all that stuff. So they're still. They're going to honor the conferences the way they always have,
which is fine for the to do that for the time being. All right, we did get we'll talk more about the buyout market obviously as we get deeper into it here. The buyout market picks up after the trade deadline, and now Ben Simmons has already reached a buyout with the Nets and will land with the Clippers. Keith, what do you think about this? This was, a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes when the Clippers made that PJ Tucker trade and like, who cares? It's Drew Eubanks and PJ Tucker, like this doesn't move the needle at all. And at that point, people were waiting for like big trade news. So I got a lot of sarcasm and snark when we talked about that. But not doing that move, doing that move allowed them to do this and now pick up Ben because it dropped them below that first tier apron. So it definitely wound up mattering. What do you think about the fit of Ben Simmons on the Clips?
Yeah, I don't mind it because on that second unit too, remember they picked up Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's had a tough year, but Bogdan Bogdanovic is known for being a very good shooter. So hopefully that'll be, the way that'll play out for him. So Bogdan is they've kind of retooled their starting lineup with Kawhi back. Chris Dunn moves to a bench role. You're gonna have Bogdanovic there as a shooter. Now you have Nick Batum, already a pretty good shooter. Amir Coffey has played well. Now you add Simmons into there too. So Simmons is in effect a Terrence Mann replacement, that kind of big ball handler, playmaker that Mann was, and he gives them like another versatile defensive guy they can throw on the floor. Clearly, they're not going to be leaning on him for too much here, and it's a chance for him to go. They did get Patty Mills in that aforementioned who cares trade, but they really did a nice job, I think, retooling their bench between the trade deadline. Got Drew Eubanks, solid backup for Ivica Zubac, which they did not have at all. Got Bogdanovic to be a shooter. Patty Mills is a good locker room guy. Now you get Simmons as just kind of more of a wild card flyer that you can take a look at and see what it looks like with him. So I don't think this makes a massive difference, but it's a nice pickup for the Clippers, I think.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, when we start talking veteran minimums on the buyout market, the expectation should always be that the player's not really going to make much of an impact. And if they do, fantastic. It's a very low risk, maybe medium reward kind of move. And we'll see what Ben Simmons can do. If he can find the defensive player that he once was, or even 80% of that, he'll fit in great with the Clips.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And they can use somebody else who's a good passer. On that team, and he still is that, even if he doesn't really break down defenses anymore. He more is a ball mover. Now he plays almost more like a big who passes than a super huge guard, which was what he was for a long time. But I think it's okay. Here again, I'm not penciling them in June yet. I haven't bought in quite there yet. Not far
They've
away.
burned you too many times in the past. Those wounds are still fresh.
Yeah, but they just transferred over the Suns because I'm an idiot. So it is what it is.
All right, let's go here. Alex Len to the Pacers. I don't believe this has actually happened yet, but it's been announced that's what's going to happen. Is he's going to land with the Pacers, who could use another big, and obviously wasn't getting a ton of opportunities in Sacramento, so he'll land with Pawnee and see what he can do there. He's a big guy, not maybe all that nimble, but this is a mountain of a man that can get out there and at least help the Pacers on the boards a little bit, give them a bit of a different look too compared to Miles Turner and Thomas Bryant.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. This is we're getting killed by Joel Embiid in the first round, and he's beating us up inside. We're going to throw Len in there to just kind of lean on him a little bit and try to do some work against him that way. Karl Anthony Towns is another guy they don't have a great answer for on the Pacers today. So yeah, that's exactly what this move is about, is get one more different kind of look in there. This is why they salary dumped James Wiseman, get off his contract. They were super tight to the tax. They were not going to be a luxury tax team. So moving Wiseman off created that room, and now Alex Len comes in, again, solid pickup, but probably not going to swing any playoff series or anything, but good guy to have in reserve for Indiana.
Yeah. All right. Let's go here. Torrey Craig landing with the Celtics. Now, Keith, what's his health at? I know he's only played 9 games this season, something like that.
Yeah, so he spoke after he signed the other day. He signed on Saturday. Because remember, Torrey Craig was waived ahead. Len and Simmons clear waivers today because they were just waived right after the trade deadline. Craig was waived so they could complete that trade that sent Levine to the Kings and Fox to the Spurs. So that was a few days ahead of the deadline. So Craig already cleared waivers, signed with Boston on Saturday, and he said he's feeling pretty good. They're thinking probably after the All-Star break for him is most likely when he'll be available. And for the Celtics, this was just, let's get one more 3-and-D wing in the building that's been around for a while. And, we'll see what it looks like. I would expect their other open roster spot to maybe go to one of their G League players as a call up.
Mhm.
They, I think, might have been interested if Dennis Schroeder had broken loose.
Yeah.
They've already kind of been there, done that. But if any one of the veteran ball handlers got released, maybe Reggie Jackson, because they are a little thin. I know it sounds crazy because you have Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard, but that's like it for like actual guards on the roster. Everybody else is a wing that can handle the ball.
Mhm.
So that's you're kind of like maybe one short. So maybe they'll go with a veteran guy. JD Davison's been with the organization for 3 years on 2 ways. He could be called up to a standard deal. We'll see how that kind of comes together. But they'll fill that last roster spot. It'll probably happen though in March or the beginning part of April. But Torrey Craig, we'll see. I mean, he's made himself into a pretty good shooter. He's always been a fairly solid defender. But again, this is a depth move. This is just in case if things start getting a little sideways. They traded Jaden Springer in a salary dump at the trade deadline. He was their kind of defensive, change the game kind of guy that they would go to. So that could be where they go with Craig. But we'll see. And I think too, you're going to see the Celtics down the stretch. They're going to start spotting guys resting.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yep.
Yeah.
He's a fill-in guy for once you start resting players. Yep.
Yeah. When Brown or Tatum gets a night off here and there, it'll be, hey, Torrey Craig's got 25 minutes tonight. Let's go. And we'll see if it amounts to anything, but depth, and that's really all it is.
And that is much. I know people get excited about the buyout market, and sometimes there's some exciting stuff that does happen. But in general, this is the kind of stuff that we see on the buyout market. Somebody for the end of the bench that you could throw in there that every once in a while might make a bit of an impact. So, Torrey Craig joining the Celtics, and we'll see what else happens on the buyout market, as this is the time of year when it starts to really heat up.
I will say on that topic, and I may have talked this on our Friday live show, but I'll mention it here if people didn't have a chance to catch it then. People get all fired up, like, because they start looking like, oh, Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon, they're all in the Wizards who stink. Doesn't sound like any of those guys are going to get bought out. What's really changed with those guys, the guys who make a significant chunk of money above the non-taxpayer MLE amount, they can't sign with whoever, right? Now, this year, there's 7 teams. So, like, there's a world where I could have seen Smart or
the
Brogdon catching on with the Bucks or the Lakers or the Suns, or maybe even the Celtics would have, they've already been there with those guys, but maybe they would have brought them back. But they can't. None of those teams can sign them because they're above the apron. So what ultimately ends up happening is those guys look at it and they're like, well, if I can't catch on with those teams, that limits my field. And my bird rights may be better for me in the offseason than going. And for Smart and Middleton, they both have a year left on their deals. Middleton's is a player option, but they're certainly not giving enough money back to make it even worth the Wizards' while to do that. So your really buyout guys are almost always limited to guys who have like an expiring deal, or there's a team option or non-guaranteed deal or something like that. And again, it's changing because a lot of guys are looking at it and saying, it's not really worth it for me to try to force a buyout here because, what difference? Like Ben Simmons, this is actually an acknowledgement for Simmons of no one was giving him $15 to $20 million a year next year.
Yeah.
So now they can say, hey, we could do this. And maybe if he plays well enough with the Clippers, maybe he'll get somebody's MLE next year, and that'll be how it'll go forward. But that's an acknowledgement of his bird rights don't have a whole lot of value because, the only way they would have come into play is if the Nets needed to use him in a sign and trade, and the Nets shouldn't have to because they're going to have $50 to $70 million in cap space.
Right. So it's why, I don't want to, depress the buyout market or anything like that, talk it down, but it's not going to be as big as it's been perhaps in years past. And even in years past, when people get excited about it, doesn't necessarily mean even a bigger name player doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make an impact on that team. It's something to keep an eye on, obviously, but it's not, I've been trying to tell people, a lot of Lakers fans asking, oh, is this guy going to get bought out? Is this guy going to get bought out? In general, remember, it's got to be a veteran player on a bad team that only has 1 year remaining on their deal. That's typically what you're looking at. A guy with 2 years typically is not going to get bought out because teams would rather say, hey, let me have an expiring contract on the books. If I have to pay a guy anyway, maybe I could use him in a trade this summer or something like that.
It's exactly why Washington's keeping Middleton and Smart because they can throw them into a trade next summer even. Yeah,
exactly.
And for the Lakers too, got to make less than 12.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they can't get him. So, and I'll say this is not a Lakers specific thing. Even the guys we covered here today, all these guys, they're more name than game, right? We recognize their name, but there's not a lot of game left there. They're depth players that's really all it is. I mean, the only buyout guy I can really truly remember that really swung a playoff series that helped the team win a title was PJ Brown in 2008 with the Celtics. He helped them win that Cavs series. They don't win it without him hitting a couple big jump shots in game 7. And that's, and that was one game for him. Other guys have had moments and played okay, but the general manager told me a long time ago, there's a reason they're available. If they were really good, they probably wouldn't be available, right? It's just, that's kind of how it happens. So yeah,
I would throw Markieff Morris into the mix there to throw one on the Lakers side here.
Sure.
Markieff Morris was pretty critical in the West semis against Houston.
Yeah.
He allowed them to go small, but in general, you're right. These guys tend to not.
Yeah, they'll have like a moment maybe, but it's like, anybody who thinks these guys, Simmons is a little bit of a weird one because it's like that. I mean, everything with his entire career has been weird. So, but like the rest of these guys, if they play more than 10 minutes a game, it'll probably be surprising the rest of the way. And that's if they even play at all. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe something surprising will happen here in the next couple of days. And people get all like, when's buyout market end and all that stuff. We've got a ways to go before any of that matters. It's, the playoff waiver eligibility deadline is March 1st. So if they're on a roster today, they have to be waived by March 1st to be eligible for the playoffs. And that includes March 1st is included in that.
Now they have to
waive by then.
They have to clear waivers by March 1st, right?
No, waived by that. That one's a little weird. Now. It is waived by March 1st. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wish they'd be consistent with all. It's like these deadlines are 5 p.m. Eastern. These ones are 6 p.m. Eastern. These ones are midnight. Like, can we just pick a time and a date and just say how all this stuff works? But
they're like, no,
we have to be waived by March 1st.
We want to keep you guessing, like our uniforms and everything else that we do at random times.
Exactly. And then just because people may wonder, you can sign guys all the way to the last day of the regular season. The Dante Jones special 2 years in a row didn't play in the league all year long. 2 years in a row signed with the Cavs on the last day of the season. So
correct. But if a player were to be waived, let's say March 10th, you could still sign that player, but that player would not be eligible for the postseason.
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
You got it.
All right. Well, everybody, we appreciate you joining the show. Hope you have a wonderful Monday. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Till then, see ya and stay safe.